It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, let's talk music lyrics.
Sure. Why not?
Let's go from country, and then I'll bring up the article that I saw yesterday. I may be forced to like Taylor Swift.
You're going to become a Swiftie?
I may have to become
and James Comey?
I may. And so it was a big decision because, Rush is, getting back together, and Rush is going to play Fort Worth.
Yeah.
And that's going to be, sometime next year. And what if that interferes with going to Taylor Swift?
Well, I
don't know.
Now that Eric and Gary are getting more rest, they're getting weirder. I don't know if this is a good thing.
Well, first the country artist and his lyrics here.
So I'm at Breitbart.com because, it's Breitbart. I hang out there sometimes. And so I'm at Breitbart.com, and the story comes up, and I don't follow today's country music. There's some, I like a little bit of Jason Aldean every once in a while. There's some artists out there. There's some things I hear, I'm like, all right. I was in the restaurant Texas Roadhouse, and they play country music there. And the other day, and I heard some songs, and I was like, oh. Asked my wife, hey, who's that artist? And she has to point it out to me who it is. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I like that. Zach Bryan, I guess I've heard a Zach Bryan song. I don't know. I've seen his name in stories everywhere. But he's a country music star. He's a pretty big deal because I see his name everywhere. He has to be a big deal, I'm guessing. They have the story here at Breitbart. Country star Zach Bryan unleashes anti-ICE song. The Fading of the Red, White, and Blue, in quotations there. I guess that's the title of the song. So they write here at Breitbart, country star Zach Bryan, who usually avoids political content in his music, has unleashed a new song ripping President Donald Trump's crackdown on illegal immigration and attacks immigration and customs enforcement for enforcing U.S. immigration laws. Then they go to the lyrics. So, and I think this is the first verse, and it starts out, didn't wake up, again, this is country singer Zach Bryan, the lyrics to his new song. Didn't wake up dead or in jail, some out-of-town boys giving us hell. And I thought, well, wait a minute, is he talking about ICE there or foreign gang members? Goes on, I got some bad news. I woke up missing you. I don't know where that comes in. I guess it's part love song. My friends are all degenerates, but they're all I got. The generational story of dropping the plot. I really don't know where this is going. This is why I don't listen to it right here.
Continue.
I heard the cops came. Cocky MFers, aren't they? And he, of course, doesn't use MFers. Or ain't they? I'm sorry, it's a country song. Ain't they? And I thought to myself, all right, well, look, by the way, we're not the ones who back in the day told the Dixie Chicks to shut up and sing, right?
No.
It's like, no.
We want them to talk.
We love Toby Keith, but it's, we didn't agree on that position. No, don't shut up and sing. Do whatever you. In fact, if you're going to do it, you should probably do it through your lyrics. You could go on tour with bring Bruce Springsteen and be on or Green Day. I don't know how the country wannabe punk rock blend would go, but you could. There's probably a place for you at some festival somewhere. But and then again. I don't know. I'm anxious to see what his audience thinks of that and where it goes from there. I don't know how recent the song is. I'm trying to get the date line of the story. It was from yesterday, so they They posted this story.
Yeah, I saw it yesterday.
Yeah, at Breitbart. So it's relative. We know it's relatively new because the whole pushback on ICE is relatively new. But I'm anxious to see where it goes and what it does. You know, the Dixie Chicks seem so tame by comparison. Basically, back in the day, I think they were over in Europe at some point, and they said, we're from Texas. We're not proud of being from the same state that George W. Bush is from. That was really the extent of it. And yes, that's pretty much all they said.
Now it's like, well, come on. He advocated murder, but it was in a private email.
Right.
You know, so
yeah, right. The Democrats
does seem a little bit tame compared to where we are, where the left is today.
Speaking of Jay Jones, it's like, the Democrats are defending, Jay Jones and all this, and it really is kind of. And by the way, I always thought the Dixie Chicks are highly talented. I didn't really care what their opinion was. I assume a number of the people on stage, even in country music, are Democrats. In fact, Toby Keith talked about that when the whole Dixie Chicks thing happened. He said, look, I'm a lifelong Democrat. Tim McGraw and his wife, Faith Hill, they're Democrats. They talk about it. They were big supporters of Obama, the whole thing. So it's not new to the genre of country music to have, people out there. And today, it probably, to me, it isn't a surprise, and it may not be a surprise to people to have a country music star like Zach Bryan be so radical in his position. I mean, you can go back to, the Merle Haggard and Willie Nelson is a liberal. We love Willie. He's a friend of the show. There are a lot of liberals in country music. The question is, how radical were they? Were they more populist?
But I don't think, to say he's a Democrat, I don't think applies anymore. To me, it's where do you stand on the issues?
How radical are you?
How radical are you?
That's
you say you're a
exactly
Democrat.
Where I was going. Yep.
So what do you believe?
Right.
Tell me. Yeah. I don't care whether you're a Democrat. Tell me what you believe. Do you believe that a man can be a woman because a man says so? Do you think that men should be competing against women?
Right.
This is where you need to ask the specific question instead of the label
on the issues, and that's the whole thing. I mean, look, I think for Willie, it might have been, and I've never asked him this, but. And we've had conversations in the past, but I never asked him, is it all about legalization? Because that part is over, and he's 92 now, and God bless him. I heard the other day in Texas, they pulled over a giant bale of weed and found a tour bus inside. But
weren't we sitting here one night when his tour bus got pulled over? It's like they found weed in it again.
Yeah,
like about 10 years ago.
I've been on that tour bus a couple of times, and the answer is no, I didn't. And so the question is, it actually is true. But it is right. It's the difference between radical positions and not. I don't, how they vote is, I assume I had a long conversation with a conservative friend of mine who's been working in Hollywood for decades, for 50 years. And and everybody out there, of course, and he lives out there. He's, thinking about moving. But, I mean, everybody out there is a hardcore liberal. Everybody you work with and work for, pretty much, with few exceptions, is going to be a liberal. And, but the question is the radical positions. And also, when you put a song out, it's nothing new to have, anti-government songs out. But the question is does it hit home with people? It hits home in this case. It only hits home with radicals. It doesn't hit home with the average American, and that's where, in my opinion, Zach Bryan and these lyrics misses the mark.
Who knows? We might hear it tomorrow. Tin Iceman and Trump's Army.
Yeah.
Who knows? And that may be. It's like, okay, let's go back to the '60s and pick something out.
Yeah, right.
Well, let me. This when you mention that, I happen to see this article in the New York Post from Ricky Schlott. Is Taylor Swift's album really full of white supremacy and homophobia, or has everyone lost their minds?
Wow.
Taylor Swift's new album, The Life of a Showgirl,
all right,
is barely 3 days old, and already woke killjoys are tearing it apart, finding offensive lyrics where there are none. Overly online social media critics of Swift instantaneously apparently decided The new album is rife with racism and homophobia, as well as secret messages of support for the patriarchy, eugenics, and Donald Trump.
Wow.
Forensic investigations, and the investigations is in quotation marks, forensic investigations have uncovered, quote, dog whistles, end of quote. But only woke detectives themselves are capable of hearing them. Either Taylor Swift is a covert alt-right influencer, or her young critics have been taught to see oppression everywhere, including where it clearly is not. Every track on the album, which came out on Friday, has already been dissected for offensive content. Swift's track Opalite has been dubbed everything from, quote, high key, a white supremacist anthem, to low key homophobia and a cryptic declaration that Swift is a lily white queen. We need to make drugs illegal. We need to make all drugs illegal.
This is what happens when liberals like Willie Nelson have been pushing for. But this is I did wonder that over the weekend. I thought to myself, is everybody high? How many people are actually sober right now in the entire equation? Because you got to. I don't follow Taylor Swift, but they're working pretty hard here at, again, and by the way, welcome to the epitome of fame, Taylor Swift.
Okay.
Because this is
right.
what happens inevitably, as we've been warning all of the liberals out there, and she's a liberal. The woke crowd is coming for you. Eventually, you're gonna be the oppressor.
She has a song "Canceled," which, if I'm doing pop, I might do "Canceled" in a generic way, and it says
right.
"Canceled" has been dragged for supposedly being pro-MAGA, despite Swift's consistently Democratic political record. Quote, "I like my friends canceled" is the most tone-deaf lyric a white billionaire with MAGA friends could release in this climate, a tweet with almost 100,000 likes read. The singer has been dragged for maintaining a friendship with Brittany Mahomes, wife of NFL star Patrick Mahomes, who controversially liked an Instagram post about the 2024 GOP platform. Swift endorsed Harris, but didn't disavow her friend, who is presumably conservative. God forbid a singer demonstrate that you can be friends across party line.
Yeah,
what a terrible lesson.
Right. Yeah. No. That's one of the sins. You can't commit that sin if you're a liberal. You can't do that.
And then, meanwhile, another song, Ophelia, a song that gives the tragic Shakespeare character from Hamlet a revised happy ending, was dragged by critics for reinforcing the patriarchy.
All right. Okay. Yeah, well, here's the thing, though. Taylor Swift isn't new to the scene.
Oh.
She's been out there for years. And inevitably, you're going to age out. Because, again, this is exactly what identity politics is all about. Eventually, you are going to become the oppressor. Eventually, you're going to forget how to write woke lyrics. She's not woke anymore. She's not woke enough. Silence is violence. And the fact that she didn't speak out about her conservative friend,
right,
speak out against her,
you have to reject, which means
then she has to be fully rejected.
Right. Exactly. The left is just going too far. They may force me to defend Taylor Swift. Well, I don't know if I can handle that. I might have to retire.
I am almost to the point. I'm so curious because of this article. I'm almost to the point of hiring somebody to listen to her songs for me. And then tell me whether that's radical for me.
Well, right, because if you expect us to get the CD, put it on in our homes and listen and dissect it, we won't go that far.
No. No.
There are limits to what our show prep
All right, full disclosure.
can be about.
On my iTunes, and I don't use iTunes, I stream now, but I don't, but I opened my iTunes the other day on my MacBook. There's Taylor Swift on there, and I'm thinking, what? And it was a whole album. My daughter used to have an iPod, my youngest daughter.
Oh, well.
And it was, I don't know how many years ago this was. I have to go back and look. But I downloaded that for her iPod. So I do own some music. Actually, my daughter owns it, but technically it's mine. I never listened to him, though. You can't prove it. What are you, a cop?
I don't know him.
Yeah.
I don't know you anymore.
Yeah, what are you, a cop?
After over 20 years of this professional marriage, I don't know you anymore. Who are you? What happened to you?
Maybe the show should be 1 hour.
When did you start supporting the patriarchy? Wow, stupid. 866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Surviving and thriving as an owner-operator has just as much to do with managing costs as it does with generating revenue. Understanding basic principles of operating costs can save you thousands of dollars a year. Costs are not the same each month. If 9,600 miles are driven one month and 10,000 miles the next, two different sets of costs apply for each month. For example, if your tractor payment is $1,850 per month and you drive 9,600 miles in the month, your tractor payment is costing you 19.3 cents per mile. Drive 10,000 miles, though, and that same payment will cost you 18.5 cents per mile. This is one of your major fixed costs while paying off a truck loan. The difference in this example is only a fraction of a cent, which may seem like small change, but it ultimately amounts to $960 more annually on the bottom line. Because though fixed costs do not go down over time, you can reduce your cost per mile with more paid miles. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Coming up following the bottom of the hour, you did have some liberals coming out yesterday in the media, for example, and coming out and saying that he's got to go. Jay Jones, he's got to go. The Attorney General candidate. In Virginia. This is Molly Hemingway on the Charlie Kirk radio show. They're having it still exists. They have revolving hosts now coming on.
Right.
But here's part of her conversation on that. It relates to what we said yesterday. Here we go.
So that letter you showed from the Virginia Beach Democrats, 8 other Democrat committees in Virginia have signed on to that letter. That letter says, by the way, who among us has not done something similar? And I'm thinking,
among us has not
really,
called
I've
somebody?
never called for the assassination of my political opponents or wished death on their children ever. I mean, it wouldn't even occur to me. But I think they're telling on themselves there when they say this. The reason why everyone's standing behind him and doing so vociferously is because I think we're seeing a party that has kind of fallen into support for left-wing violence. The thing you mentioned, Blake, about him going after that police lieutenant, who I think lost his career, by the way, for that $25 donation to Kyle Rittenhouse, is that it's all in the same package as the support for BLM riots. It's about the breakdown of law and order. It's about using power to go after your political opponents and do so violently. And it's kind of breaking out into the open. It's related to what we saw after the assassination. Was the response to the assassination was almost more horrifying in some ways, realizing that there were so many people who supported this level of political violence against people like me and my.
We'll get to that coming up.
On our website, rediradioshow.com. Show info with stations, podcasts, and more. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when you want. All right, just commenting on the entire Jay Jones thing out of Virginia, the Democratic candidate for Attorney General, and things that he said. And we just played Molly Hemingway.
Combining two great people into one.
Molly Hemingway talk
Margot
about
Cleveland and
right.
If you want to meld them into one person,
and
why not?
And when she said, for these people, and you had talked about it yesterday, you had talked about what the Virginia Beach Democratic Party and basically like, well, we've all had these thoughts, and so
who among us has not has not sinned before, hasn't done something like this? It's like, are you kidding me?
Well, and the funny thing is Molly Hemingway said, she goes, I never have, but I think this gets back. I want to delve into this just a little bit because it's something that we brought up a long time ago. And it's whenever we'd have an opinion, the opposition, the left would hit us and say, you guys are racist. And we go, where?
Right, yeah.
Well, if you believe in fiscal sanity, you're a racist. How? And they could never explain it.
Yeah.
They would throw labels at us, and they could never explain it.
Right.
And we got very curious as to, is it just that they don't have an argument, so they throw that out? And you and I came to believe that it's actually more than that. You have a party that is caught up in identity politics. They judge people by groups and not individuals. We don't do that. And I think what you're getting is projection here. They actually believe that the other side has the same murderous thoughts that they have. They just assume it. They go, well, we have these thoughts, and and we think murder is justified in this particular thing, and we're always talking about murdering our opponents. Well, then obviously these people who are more evil than us have to be thinking that all the time.
Right.
And the fact is we're not.
No. But this is how they think, so they project it as something normal.
Right. It's who hasn't sinned? I don't. I've never thought. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think in my entire life if I wanted to wish anybody dead. There was the Kramer. There was the Kramer wanting to wish the one guy dead. That's what he wanted for his birthday.
Mm-hmm.
I think he wished that Kramer was dead. But other than that, I'm trying to think in my entire life, have I ever said that I want somebody murdered?
I know for a fact I never have.
I've never had the thought. Well, I guess I'm having the thought now because we're discussing it. But I never had the thought that somebody should be murdered because they have an opinion that differs from me. In fact, it's just the opposite. I don't want them dead. I want them alive because they're completely and totally clueless, and we will win in the arena of ideas in the long run.
The only thing I wish for is that my political opponents don't win elections. That's as close as I can get.
That's the same thing, Eric.
Yeah, exactly the same thing, right?
By the way, just like how I had that. I have no idea where that comes from.
Yeah, I don't know. But it is, again, them projecting how they think. Because basically, what did the Virginia Beach Democratic Party say in that statement? Effectively, come on, we've all done the same thing, right?
Right. No big deal.
My question is, number one, can you name names in your own party? Because you're pretending like this is normal. So who else in your party has done this? It tells me that Jay Jones isn't the only radical who's behaved in this way if you believe this is normal.
Right.
Let's have a discussion about all of the radicals who believe this is normal and have behaved in the same manner.
And believe me, I've been a part of debates and I've been a part of discussion groups with conservatives and Republicans that are furious what the Democrats, have done. And I'm talking about over the last, what is it now? I don't know, my decades in talk radio, and never one, not even in private, did anybody say anything like that, even joking around.
Yeah, no.
They don't do that.
No.
And so I really think this is we need to talk about the fact that this is their projection. This is how they feel, and they feel free to say it because they look at you as the opposition, and if they think this way, they know you're more evil than they are. You've got to think that way.
Yeah.
Well, we don't think that way. It's the same thing as we brought up with racism when we heard that for such a long time. You're a racist because you have this opinion. How? Because you are. That's not good enough. Why am I a racist? Why do I believe that somebody is genetically inferior to me because of my race? I'm Irish. And so they couldn't. And we finally one day said, it's projection.
Yeah.
This is how they think.
This is how they think.
Want to get to this before this segment ends here. Barry Weiss, editor-in-chief of CBS News. Was the Free Press?
Yeah.
Bought by Paramount for $150 million.
All right, a couple things. I have subscribed since the beginning to the Free Press. I ended that subscription when this was announced, and here's why. And I wrote them in the comments. It said, tell us why you're canceling. Now, I paid for the annual subscription, so mine still goes through, I think, next spring. But I wrote, I love Barry Weiss. I love what I get from the Free Press. I don't trust it under the CBS/Paramount house. They're going to have to earn that trust. Now, they might. With Barry Weiss at the helm at CBS News, they might earn that trust for me to, if there's going to be, the Free Press subscription version going forward, then maybe I find it worthy based on, again, the work that's done. That's kind of how it worked the first time. I had appreciated Barry Weiss's work to that point. It was still, when I subscribed, though, kind of new because, it was post Twitter files and the whole thing, but it was based on that, what I believe to be good journalism that she did there at as a part of the Twitter files expose and other things that she has done. And I thought, okay, I appreciate this work, and I'd like more of that. Not that, again, nothing else really. It was, all right, you've done the work, and I'll trust that is the kind of work I'm going to get when I pay for the subscription at the Free Press.
For us, it's our decades upon decades of being cynical of the mainstream media.
Yeah.
And so, 150 for the Free Press. I'd like to see a breakdown as to whether they're actually worth that.
I don't know about the valuation. I haven't seen anybody do
the valuation.
A breakdown on the valuation because it would be done based on the multiples.
Right.
I don't know what they have been earning. So based on, I think I was paying $80 for a year. So whatever that is.
I do not agree with her on every issue, and we've talked about this. We don't believe she's a conservative, but she does want journalism back. She's very much reminds me of Bernard Goldberg.
Yeah.
She may have more liberal things than he does now, but he was always a moderate. But I just, I just see that once you get in, and it's interesting because we have worked, I've worked for single owners. We now work for a big corporation, and we will occasionally get that, not really much anymore, but people say, well, you work for a big corporation, you have to toe the line. No, we don't.
No,
we don't. I mean, we have total freedom and creativity and on editorial content. Once in a while, management will say, tell Eric to stop the stupid jokes. I'm kidding. That's never happened. We've never been told anything we've said on the air to not say that again.
Right.
ever.
Right.
And so we've never been punished. We've never been forced to apologize. Never. So you can work for major companies and still have that freedom. But she's editor-in-chief, and she's going in to be the boss of a bunch of leftist political activists with bosses above her and longtime employees with maybe big contracts underneath her. And I hope she succeeds, because what she says here I agree with. This is the memo that she wrote to the employees of CBS. Journalism that reports on the world as it actually is. Journalism that is fair, fearless, and factual. Journalism that respects our audience enough to tell the truth plainly wherever it leads. Journalism that makes sense of a noisy, confusing world. Journalism that explains things clearly without pretension or jargon. Journalism that holds both American political parties to equal scrutiny. Journalism that embraces a wide spectrum of views and voices so that the audiences can contend with the best arguments on all sides of the debate. Journalism that rushes toward the most interesting and important stories, regardless of their unpopularity. Well, you make them popular. If it's an interesting story, it becomes popular if you make it popular.
Yeah, right.
If you cover it in the right way. I understand where she's coming from there.
Mm-hmm.
Journalism that uses all the tools of the digital era. Duh. Journalism that understands that the best way to serve America is to endeavor to present the public with the facts first and foremost. I look forward to meeting many of you in the days ahead and to listening and learning from you. I'm profoundly honored to join you, and I can't wait to get started. With gratitude and excitement, Barry, P.S., everybody on 60 Minutes, you're fired. No,
Yeah, exactly. Everybody get up. But it's, here's where I would say, all right, I'm going to break the statement down. They believe they're being accurate and truthful.
Yes.
When we talk about like the radical protesters believing that violence is not only acceptable, but it's their duty to carry out these violent acts. Well, these liberal activists in newsrooms believe it's their duty to behave the way they're behaving. They believe that is being honest. They believe being delusional or lying to people is today's journalism. That's how they define it. So, look, I have great respect for true journalists, and I believe Barry Weiss is one of those. But I'll say this. Good luck. And I don't mean that in just the smarmy way. I was trying to get a laugh. But also, I hope you're successful in finding true journalists like yourself to populate that newsroom, because we go back to Tim Russert. On Sunday morning, didn't matter who you were, sitting across from him, he was going to play devil's advocate, and he was going to call you out in your own words. You said this then, here's the quote. You're saying something different now, explain it. And it's a very basic approach, and that is to find the truth. And I expect that. I don't expect it to be conservative or liberal. I expect it to be true journalism. And here's hoping she can get that done.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So I think back to when I first became a, radio talk show host, and remember how we used to do show prep and everything else. And then when it got to be in the late 90s, the place to go was the Drudge Report.
Right.
And the Drudge Report became so popular because the Monica Lewinsky scandal. And Drudge, remember when Drudge had his own conservative, talk show on conservative stations?
Oh yeah.
And it used to be the first thing you used to look at it was what's Drudge covering today. Now it's like the last. I just decided, because the headlines now all slant liberal. Mm-hmm. And by the way, headlines can slant whatever direction you want.
Sure.
For example, I just decided as we're coming out of the break there, let me just check out the Drudge Report. You ready?
All right.
Here's the lead headline. Trump invades Illinois.
Yeah, okay. All right.
You
Thanks
can't-
a lot, Matt.
You can't even take it seriously.
No, but I love it. Look, again, tell us how you really think. Don't be shy about it. I've said it since October 7th. I've said it, and here we are. Wow, on Tuesday, October 7th. And I said,
wow.
After October 7th, I said, radicals on one side, everybody else on the other. There is no middle ground, and there isn't on anything anymore.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.